lift up my eyes unto the hills from which cometh my help. My help cometh from Abba Yahweh, which made the Hashemayim and the earth. He will not suffer your foot to be moved. He that keepeth you will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. Abba Yahweh is your keeper. Abba Yahweh is your shade upon your right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, not the moon by night. Hallelujah, hallelujah. We told you, precious Abba Yahweh. We'll enter to the bed once again, Abba Yahweh. Down on humble knees, Abba Yahweh. We told you you feed us the lesson of the bread of life this night, Abba Yahweh. From your messenger, Abba Yahweh. They go into the Erech to strengthen your nation, Abba Yahweh. You stay in the straight and narrow way, Abba Yahweh. Continue on, Abba Yahweh. Steadfast and unmovable, Abba Yahweh. Trusted in the mighty strength of your hand, Abba Yahweh. To keep them, Abba Yahweh, on this short journey that we on, Abba Yahweh. That they go on through the battle, Abba Yahweh. One day, Abba Yahweh, that we will enter into the Melkut, Abba Yahweh, to look upon your face, Abba Yahweh. Abba Yahweh, ban up every spirit to try to come against this truth this night. And your messenger feed us, Abba Yahweh. Emit the truth from your Torah, Abba Yahweh. The nourishment that your people need, Abba Yahweh, to endure this battle. The strength, Abba Yahweh, to not to give up but to hold fast, to be encouraged, Abba Yahweh, to not faint, Abba Yahweh, but to stand, Abba Yahweh, because we know, Abba Yahweh, that your truth, Abba Yahweh, is the only thing, Abba Yahweh, that we have, Abba Yahweh, to give us that light to shine bright within us, Abba Yahweh, of that great testimony, Abba Yahweh, and truly it is a great testimony, Abba Yahweh, that you gave your very best, Abba Yahweh. That's what lives within us, Abba Yahweh. That keeps us from standing, Abba Yahweh. That keeps us to be the light, Abba Yahweh. To set upon the hill and can't be hid, Abba Yahweh. Because, Abba Yahweh, we will not fail to proclaim your truth, Abba Yahweh. The testimony that you have put in us, Abba Yahweh. As we live, Abba Yahweh. Abba Yahweh, we know, Abba Yahweh, because you are how your nation much, Abba Yahweh. Because you are the one, Abba Yahweh, that chosen us, Abba Yahweh. And we know, Abba Yahweh, you will never leave us to forsake, Abba Yahweh. You said you never see your seed out begging bread, Abba Yahweh. And whatever we need, Abba Yahweh, we can come to you boldly, Abba Yahweh, and you will give it to your nation, Abba Yahweh. That we know for a fact, Abba Yahweh. We know, Abba Yahweh, that you will not deny us in any kind of way, Abba Yahweh. We can't, because you cannot lie, Abba Yahweh. Because you are nothing but truth, Abba Yahweh. And we know only but a few, Abba Yahweh, is going to make it into your kingdom, Abba Yahweh. Not those that are many, Abba Yahweh, because they seek the things of this life, Abba Yahweh. Their joy and happiness is in the things of this life, Abba Yahweh. There's only temporal, Abba Yahweh. And you said it's going to pass away, Abba Yahweh. But eternal life, Abba Yahweh, rejoicing with you is forever, Abba Yahweh. So, Abba Yahweh, how we have made it over, Abba Yahweh. And we rejoice every day, Abba Yahweh. The great testimony that live within us. That we'll be at home and home at last, Abba Yahweh. It's just a little while longer, Abba Yahweh, because we see this world, Abba Yahweh, not getting no better, Abba Yahweh. But Abba Yahweh, it's getting worse and worse, Abba Yahweh. We see the time is coming to us in, Abba Yahweh. But Abba Yahweh, we told you that we got you by our side, Abba Yahweh. We told you that you can keep us, Abba Yahweh. That whoever come against us, Abba Yahweh, we know that we can stand in the mighty strength of your hands, Abba Yahweh. We know that we can go through it, Abba Yahweh, because Abba Yahweh, the battle is not intense yet, but we know it's coming, Abba Yahweh. And Abba Yahweh, we trusted in you for the victory, Abba Yahweh. Because Abba Yahweh, we're not going to get in front of you, but we're going to get behind you, Abba Yahweh. And let you lead us, Abba Yahweh, through the battle. Let you take us through the victory to Yeshua and Yahshua, Abba Yahweh. And we know, Abba Yahweh, that you are a great warrior, Abba Yahweh. And we no longer we trust in you, Abba Yahweh. We will get the victory, Abba Yahweh. Not even a shadow of a doubt, Abba Yahweh. We know it. You will take us through, Abba Yahweh. We don't have no worries, Abba Yahweh. Because, Abba Yahweh, our hands in your hands, Abba Yahweh. Because we have no strength of our own, Abba Yahweh. But, Abba Yahweh, this flesh is weak, Abba Yahweh. But it's made strong, Abba Yahweh, through the mighty strength, Abba Yahweh, of your truth that you put within our life, Abba Yahweh. That we know that we can stand, Abba Yahweh. Even in our weakness, Abba Yahweh, you can make us strong, Abba Yahweh. Because you're the one that comforts us, Abba Yahweh. And you are the answer to every situation, Abba Yahweh. You are the one that give us, Abba Yahweh, the answer how to go through, Abba Yahweh, every situation, and what we got to endure, Abba Yahweh. Because, Abba Yahweh, we know, Abba Yahweh, that you are the one that made us a nation unto you, Abba Yahweh. You're the one that put the name that we are peculiar people unto you, Abba Yahweh. A people, Abba Yahweh, that's been transformed, Abba Yahweh. Not having the man of this world, Abba Yahweh. But, Abba Yahweh, loving, Abba Yahweh, the thing that are above. Your truth, Abba Yahweh. Your Torah, Abba Yahweh. Because this thing, Abba Yahweh, that you have uprooted from us, Abba Yahweh. And Abba Yahweh, you have made us clean unto your truth, Abba Yahweh. That we walk in Siddiqah righteousness, Abba Yahweh, of you, Abba Yahweh. Not of our own will, Abba Yahweh, or not of our families, Abba Yahweh. But it's all about you, Abba Yahweh, because you are the one that had the great ahava for us, Abba Yahweh. And we will give it back to you, Abba Yahweh. We be that light that set up on a hill. Let us stand to our feet, nation, and let us shoot, nation. Precious Abba Yahweh, within the Hashemayim, Kodesh is your mighty Hashem. Your Makut to come, your will be done. In earth, Abba Yahweh, and then the Hashemayim. Give us this day our daily lesson, and forgive us our debt, Abba Yahweh, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, Abba Yahweh. For yours is the Makut, the power and the honor, Abba Yahweh, forever, Abba Yahweh. So be it, Abba Yahweh. May it be fulfilled in the precious and mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Feed us tonight with the lesson of understanding and the banal, the wisdom, Abba Yahweh, from your image, your truth this night. In the precious and mighty name of Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We do want to say so soon, YisraYah'ale, KEETVAY EMET. We welcome you all for the teaching, the instructions of Torah, that our lives may be full of vitality and vibrance according to your great pleasure you have granted unto us all. And so we say to you all, so soon we welcome you in Yahshua's mighty name. I do want to teach. I like teaching. I want to make things plain and simple that we can understand the very mind and the heart of Yah. I know that we think that we understand the precepts, what Yah commands unto us, we truly don't. And I want to teach Yah's will. We will see one of the most profound pillars of what we call comforting. I want to deal with the aspect of what is heartfelt. We have no idea of what is heartfelt. I was thinking today, I said, Yah, that through the process of life in this seductive thing we call Christendom, they taught us lies in the sense of what is the great ahava of Yah. How could we, from the interpretation of those that had no identity with care or warm-heartedness, these be the instructors of us in the ways of truth? So we learn a concept that was so fraudulent, a liar can never teach you anything that is of value. So in this house, what we call America, there was not a concept of pure ahava, or the love of Yah. We learned from those that segregated you in their gatherings. You were not permitted to even come in and assemble among them unless it was one of those that was mastering over you could. You can't learn love from that. You cannot learn love from their theses of hypocrisy and lies when there was no love purported to those that were the dull or the poor liking. So how could we learn anything from a system through Christendom that would teach us the principles of Yah? We did not. We learned lies, self-promotion, and feelings that did not break us free from the shackles that had us bound. I gave us the list of KEETVAY that I will use tonight, but I included that heartfelt. I wanted us to understand the word bar, just like a bar, and how it is defined. It is pure. It is something that is clear and it is sincere. We are a people that our whole lives are based upon fraudulent, superficial emotions. It is one thing about being heartfelt, or someone sense that heartfelt purity from you. They understand that it is sincere. It is something that is pure. It is genuine. And it is something that is fervent. There are people that are never fervent about anything. They will become fervent in the application of showing the great experience of what is heartfelt with others. We are heartfelt about those that we think we know. It is one thing about my heart and yours. It is deceitful above all things. It is desperately wicked. That's why we must be constantly reminded of me, of your heart. It is fervent, and there's a very deepness to that. It is deep. It goes beyond excuses or infractions from others. How does a wife and a husband live together? She doesn't talk to him in a week, or he in 2 weeks, because of her emotional state or his emotional immaturity. That is not heartfelt. And the word comes from BARAK. It has an impact. And the only way you're going to understand this, you must know what the principles of this book says. And bara is that you will make others have the sense of brightness, because you are made bright. It also tests and proves whether you are sincere in your efforts and your compassion. There is a deep earnestness to one with the warmness and the warmth of that which is heartfelt. We have learned false dynamics because I am false, so I generate falseness in everything I do, in embracing, showing my care and comforts. It is from false precepts. It's not according to the Torah, because these things must be built up in us. And I will take us down that road tonight. It is honest. I don't care what your attitude is, whether it is raunchy or beautiful, it will always express honesty. When you're mad, it expresses madness, doesn't it? That's honest. When you're kind and comforting to others, it will express those kinds of things. So we cannot hide. We can hide with our superficial ways and actions, yet we're brought under the yoke and the bondage of that because our hearts are just not right. It is warm, it is kindly, and it has a passion of enthusiasm, almost like a child. They become enthusiastic about things. They have an expression in their enthusiasm that you know that is genuine. It's real. And so I know real ahava. I know that which is superficial, which is fake and phony. It is not based upon the principles of Almighty Yah. It is one thing else, that one that has that warm heart, it is felt. That one will always express that openly. Whether they have displeasure with you, upset with me, they will express that. They allow nothing to contaminate them, to hold ants in my heart against an up because of what I perceive to be something that is major. There is nothing that no one does to us that is major. Nothing. Period. It's in me. It's in you. And one with a warm heart, they are always faithful. You find those that pretend they're faithful, but they're not faithful. In the smallest of activities, they are consistently faithful. It is done on a regulatory basis. They never forget. And they are always on time because they are very serious. They speak true to their profession because they are devoted to what Yah commands as He shapes our hearts through one process and one process alone. That's why we did not learn how to love and care under the theses of Christianity. We did not. It was a concept developed by those that oppress you. How can one that is full of hatreds teach you love? The only thing they can teach you, don't act like them. And love is an action. It is a verb. It acts. There are adjectives that show the very profoundness of the great love of Yah. And it is one other thing I want to impart, that which is heartfelt. It speaks out, nation, in an expression that it is revealed and everyone can see it. An example, please. I will show you one. It's like one looking at their child, the little baby, and is asleep, and the expression in their eyes, the way they hold them, the way they look at them, the way they embrace them. These are the qualifiers. What is heartfelt, what that sense of that dynamics of heartfelt, it is expressed to YisraYah'ale. And I want to begin here with the first principle, the foundational stone, the pillar. I want to begin here with Titiyah, in chapter 22:34. And Torah says, but when the Prushim, or the Pharisees, that heard that Yeshua HaMashiach, that he had put the Saduchim, he shut their mouths. He had put them to fi mo'o. He muzzled them. He made them quiet, that they cannot promote lies and corruption among the people. It says, and they were gathered together. And then what of them? And this one, what the Torah calls, was a lawyer, but a Torah master. He had mastered Torah, the letter. He cannot see beyond the letter because he would have known who Yeshua HaMashiach is and who he was. But he was a master Torah intellectual. He asked him a question for one purpose, tempting him. It's like someone replying to you, would tell me what I did wrong. In their arrogance of combustive attitude, you can tell in their body emotion, the actions, the way they present that. But tell me where I did wrong. It's all into those activities. Tempting him, saying, Rabbi, the master, the very intelligence of Yah and all things that pertains to him. He says, which is now, which is the megas. Now that says great, doesn't it? Which is the great commandment. Mega speaks this, that the greatest of Yah's commandment, it speaks out. It's loud. Love speaks. Compassion speaks. Comforting speak. Heartfelt speak. And it speak with a loud voice. The actions make it speak. Which is the greatest commandment? What is this in Torah, this precept, this knowledge of the Most High? He says, in HaTorah, there's no other book but Torah, in the Torah. Yahshua said to him, you shall, that might, an affirmation, you shall have a love, agapeya, yo'abah. These are the elements of love. It must be with KOLE. Because this, every ounce of one's heart, it comes from here. This thing feels nothing. This will feed this and create a stimulation of emotion that you may feel it in your belly. That's why the Torah calls it the betim. But it's here. It's here. No other place. He says that you shall love your Abba with every ounce of your mind. You must give him your mind that he developed it. You must give him your heart, your mind, that he lay out the performance only one way, by his Torah. That's the only way it comes. You cannot get love by emotions. You cannot say, I got a warm heart. You don't. Everything in life must be developed. Everything in life must be developed. A child knows nothing about love. And that's why I often say I grew up in an environment I did not see the power and the beauty of a father's love. That's why marriages have so many troubles and so much. I did not see a man embracing my mother. I did not see a mother loving a man and serving him kindly. I never seen that. And a child must have not only the mental pictures, but they must understand that. And that's why YouTube and television has destroyed their minds. They see the action, they see the motion, and they see the things set in place, and that's what they follow. So I've never seen that. And there are many that will hear this, not many. There are not many that like me. They have never seen that in their environment. Oh, that was a dad and a mother, but there was no kind of friendship and love. He went his way, she went her way. That's not love. That's not love. So a child grows up without that experience. It begins with the first principle, mama and daddy. The world will never teach you love. And the Christian way will never, ever teach you what love is. It's only the way of Yah. You should ahava Yah your Abba. All is his pistis, everything, your heart, with all your nefesh, your living life in your being. Your mind as it lives, as it speaks, make things alive. It is this that make things lively and alive in us. It is this that make us jump and leap for joy. It's not this. This affects this. This speaks to this, that the blood raise up the course of blood, because he is going to be happy. You must train them. And I had no training. But it was one prayer I had all my life, didn't know how to pray. I want to learn that. What is love? To live right, to live honorably. That was my prayer. I had no one to teach me that. So I had no concept like we all of what love really is. We don't. You should love him with all of that. He said, with all of your being, of your life, that he has constituted in us. We can jump, we can run, we can move with all of the living substance within our beings. And then he tells us, and all your dianoia, with all your mind. What does that imply? It is the facility that facilitate every kind of emotion. It comes here. The mind that facilitate us in understanding. Not only that, but feelings too, and emotions. It all comes from here. It doesn't come from any other place. It comes from here. And this is the center of life. This is it here. And one cannot have that warm heartness, or a heart that is warm, that you can feel that. It's like a mother or father feeling the little heart of their child. It's one thing I used to do with all my nieces and nephews when they were little babies. I would lay them on my chest. I would put them to sleep in no time. They're wild and crazy. I would always lay them on my chest. It didn't take long. They would go to sleep. I could feel their little hearts, and they could feel mine. But I would always lay them on my chest. And they could feel my heartbeat. Boom, 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 boom. And I could feel theirs much faster than mine. That's how. And we must have this same heart of Yah functioning in us here. No other place. You should love him with everything you got, your mind. You should give Yah everything. With these are the words of Hamashiach. The principle must be laid out in Torah. You cannot teach anything without the first principle or the precept or the door of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding open concerning his great chava that produced this warmth. It is felt. Children will feel it. Everyone will feel it. They may not have the ability of recepting, because when you deal with someone that is cold-hearted, they don't know what a warm heart is. I wanted y'all to teach me how to love and care. It made no difference who it was. Do right by all men, especially YisraYah'ale. I'm not going to do exception about someone that is corrupt, and then I downplay YisraYah'ale. I have never, and I will not do that. Period. I want to show us this first principle in Dibarim. I have that in red for you. You all study these principles. I watch Ima and the daughters when they get together, especially Ima. I watch her preparation to come over, or to go over and to talk with the daughters of Zion. He says in Dibarim 6:4, he says, Shemachol YisraYah'ale, hear the voice of Almighty Yah. He's talking about Yah, our sovereign master, who he is. He says, you shall. Look at the verb he used. It expressed a strong assertion. Not might, could be, but you shall, thou shall, you shall. It's a command and an instruction. It is a verb that is performeth. There's a performance of that. You shall love Yah your Abba with all your heart, with all of your nefesh, and with all of your me'od, all of your might. Everything that's alive in you, it must be excessive. It must be much. You cannot overdo that. You cannot overdo love. You cannot overdo one that possesses the warmth of one's hearts and is open. You cannot overdo that. It must be excessive. It must be excessive. Not up to day 1 hour and down the next 10 minutes. It cannot be like that. You're right for this moment, the next 6 hours, I'm a fruitcake. It cannot work that way. This is what he says, with all your me'od. And then verse 6. And these words, these promises, which I sever, I command you with the authority. That's when Yah commands us. He's showing us the gravity of his authority. That I sever you this day, listen, shall be in your hearts. And if love is there, warmth is there, it's going to be expressed. If vileness and hatred that is putrefied, you're crazy. You act immature. You don't do things righteously. You're funny as they come. I was funny too. Didn't like to talk at time. I don't know if my childhood had something directly that effect. I do in a way, but I believe that Yah would hear me if I prayed sincerely, even through all of my ignorance of his truth. And I did. And I wanted deliverance from me. I wanted deliverance from me. And that's why you find people up one moment, they're crazy, pretending to be sweet and kind. Period. Look what he says, with all your heart. And then in verse 7, it's very captive here. He said, and you shall shonan, you shall teach. You shall teach diligently. You shall be sharp in your effort to teach. And you shall whet the sword, and you shall make sure it pierces the heart. Yah knows how to use word properly, doesn't he? And we that are students will go beyond the visual of a word, because I am ignorant, I don't know. And so that's how the trolls of his wisdom is open unto us nation. I hold nothing back from you. I want you to know everything and more than me. This is what the book says, not me. And you shall shana, not lomad, you shall make the teaching piercing. You shall judge the one. It shall identify the one who does not operate in this fashion. You shall diligently. I had no one to teach me. I had no one to cut me. These devilish houses of darkness, nothing they've said has cut me. Never. It is his truth. That wasn't truth. Then we must diligently, you understand that, nation? You must take time like I'm doing. We are the children of YisraYah'ale. You must diligently, you must teach diligently, diligent with great effort, with great energy. That is visual. You can't teach someone something that you do half-heartedly. It must be genuine, real, sincere. You cannot teach a child what a chava is when you are subpar yourself. You cannot show them when your life is full of hypocrisy. You're cold, you're nasty. You cannot teach that. There is an expression of esprit. You shall diligently, with great effort, your children. And then he says this. That's where he says, Shalom, you shall talk to them. You shall talk to them when? When you sit down in your house. You sit down, you teach them love. You teach them honor and regarding each other. That's what you do. You sit in your house, you teach them the mannerism and the ways of Yah. And there's nothing more profound of teaching is that your actions represent that. Nothing. That your ways represents that. You're not much of a teacher. You teach things and you're doing that which is diametrically opposed to that truth. No, I teach you because I'm not in opposition of this, because it cuts me, it corrects me, and above all of that, it refines me. It speaks to me. It speaks to me on a very personal level. That's what we must do. We must diligently teach our children. We must talk to them in our homes. When you by the way, when you go on the way, you must talk to them. You walk it in the way, which is the way of Yah. You must teach them. Everything you do must be a counsel. When you walk with them, you teach them the ways of Yah. You teach them the beauty of His great Ahava. We have missed the mark. We have failed Yah in that area. You sit down and play all day, but you teach them the application and the principles of Yah. That's my assignment. I do it. And this is my house here, your house. Whether we're working together, whatever, I'm a teacher. I'd rather be identified as a teacher than a re'ach. But I'm a teacher above all things. I love to teach. You should talk to them, you should talk to them, and when you walk in the way, when you're in the way of Yah's truth, you teach them those things. They may not comprehend the very depth of it, you teach them. And when you lie down at night, your night of sleep must represent the beauty of your life. I can say this, it was one thing that in the days that the parents would come in and check on us. All right, you all sleep well, all right. Parents don't even, I don't care if they're 15, so what? Or 16. It is just that parenting love. They will always check on the child. Always. And they would always do that. My mother would make sure that. And when we were not at home at a Pacific time, she couldn't sleep. And that's the way the mothers were then. She stayed awake until we were home. And only then could she take solace in the comfort of rest. When you lie down and when you rise up, everything should be upon that principle of love. You singing in your home. You singing with delight. The joy of Hamashiach. Your voice resonates to the house. I know I say things, I don't say it to be trying to be one that is of some upper level. But I can say honestly that my wife sings all the time. All the time through the house. All the time she's singing. All the time. All the time. I don't say that in a boastful fashion. It's only when I try to add myself to it, it begins to sound like a mess. But she sings. She sings. She sings. And I like to hear her sing. She sings all the time. She does. And I love to hear her sing. These are the things we must teach each other. We are the children of YisraYah'ale. We see each other in the morning. We teach each other the very specifics of Yah's warmth. There are us at times we are moody. We don't want no one to engage with me. I'm not that way. I am not that way. I said to my friend this morning, because we always embrace, and we were discussing some things this morning, Yawasadach and I just forgot he was gone. He wanted to make sure that the boilers had wood. When I was working on the little building here, we began to engage. I said, I hadn't forgot, my friend. You know we didn't embrace this morning. We did not. Give me some love. I don't ever want to be cold like that. There is no heartfelt warmness. I don't care if he's upset with me. I'm upset with him. I want him to feel that. I want him to feel it from here. And I put that on him. That. I want him to feel that, not only the flesh, but I want him to feel my heart. I do. I hate a sorry hug. Sorry handshake. I've never liked that. I hate that. This is what the Torah says. This is the first principle, is it? So let me see if I can carry that through just somewhat. This is Maccabean, 4th Maccabean. This is the same action of the same mind here that we must all have, the same as Hamashiach, same as the true house of YisraYah'ale. It says 4th Maccabean, chapter 14, verse 20. He talks about Nochan. He said, but sympathy. You see what that says? It is one of the most purest of kindness and comfort. You have sympathy for others. You understand their plight, their battle. Because you know your plight, your battles. There is nothing but sympathy, this comforting, that is heartfelt for her children. Did not sway the mother of the young man. She had a pure... You tell me that mother did not comfort all 7 of them in the same fashion with pure love and care? You think she negated any responsibility of that? She did not. Those young men, why? We must all have the mind of Yahshua, right? Did Abraham have that mind? She was of the same mind of Abraham. Him. She knew the promises of Yah. She held fast to the Dabarim, the words. She was of the same mind. I don't think like you. Well, I think like Hamashiach. We should all have the same mind. You're not going to get it any other way, because if you talk the same way, we will all have the same mind as Abraham. He waited on the promises of Yah. When he offered up his son, ready to offer him, Yah knew then that there is nothing that Abraham will not do for him. And we must have that same kind of constitution toward each other. Not because of your son, your daughter, daughter-in-law, mother-in-law, papa-in-law, sister-in-law. No, it must be the same toward her. I must have it the same with her. Can't be any different. The same honor for her. Must be for her, must be for her, must be for her. Has to be. Has to be. She was of the same identical, of the same substance, because his mind was built upon the principles of Yah that he had promised. His zerah, his seed, shall be a blessing to the world. And if we're that seed, we must be a blessing. That's why we always do excellent and tough unto all men. No man will use me. I do right by every man. I don't care who he is. But there's an exception. He said, especially they that of the household of YisraYah'ale. So I will go out of my way for him. I will go out of my way for the Achim. I will. We have to show a special fortitude of care and kindness and comforting that is of a warm heart. It is felt. You can feel the warmth. We'll do that with every stranger. We will not do it with the house of YisraYah'ale. We can take comfort in those that are fat-out dogs, and smile and grin and clown. I will not. I was talking to my aim about my only brother left alive. He's what, 63, someone like that. Just this week, because I don't talk with him. And I looked, there was a call, Dafir, and I said, no, I said, I'll hold off. Oh, I'm going to talk with him and lay him down. I'm going to lay down the path, and I will not deal with him again, period. And that was his call. So he thinks he's wise. I saw the call. I said, even 10 minutes later, there was a call with no identity coming from Salisbury, Shelby, North Carolina. I said, no, he thinks I'm that stupid. Because when I deal with him, there will be nothing held back. My mother went to the prison's house for nearly 20 years to see that coward of a beast. No one would take her but me. When she tried to give me money, I would not take it. That beast got out of prison. My wife would prepare. There were certain times of the year she would cook 10, 15 cakes. He has never offered to take his mammy out to eat. She's dead now. I didn't need for him to take me out. But if someone has been that kind to you, you would think that you would say, for no other brother visit him but me. Period. No one gave for money, visit that beast far away. And I would look at the old woman. My heart would weep. And this dog, he gets out. He has never said, let me take you out to dinner. I didn't want him to take me out to dinner. But it's just the kindness. If someone knows that someone has been kind to them, you cannot have any heart, any kind of feeling. I'm using that, for example, for me. So I don't deal with the beast. He did his mother that way. He did her that way. I don't care how he did me, but you did her that way. I didn't do it that way. I was going to be in her folly, and I was going to socialize in their events. Never have, and I never will. Made me no different what they said. I was not going to be a part of their lies, their foolishness, and their frivolity. I did it one time, and I repented of that. And never participated Agag nation. She had the same mind as Abraham. What kind of mind do you think Yeshua had? He had the same principles. He came with that same mind, but he had life to that mind. The Torah was alive in him. He was the life of Torah. When he spoke it, it produced life. Look at what Romeo says here. You think Abraham had a mind any different? Yeshua HaMashiach, Romans 12:16, he tells us to be of the same, that is optos, be of the same, identical, in resemblance. My love should be no different than your love. My care for others is no different than no one else. I don't care how long I preach. It must be the same. Love is the same. Comforting is the same. The heartfelt emotions or the feelings of one, it is the same. He said, I want you to let that same mind, that enoia, that same intelligence of understanding, of knowledge, a purpose, the will of Yah, be of the same mind, one toward another. It has to be that. So my mind toward you has to be the same as toward him. Same as toward him is toward him. Same as toward him must be toward her. And him must be the same. You must speak the same truth and do things honestly and righteous before men. Must be the same mind, identical. He said, at the same mind, one toward another. He tells us not to mind high things. And we are so superficial, but we think we're someone special. And we're literally nothing. We must mind the same thing. And that is the wisdom of Torah. That is the wisdom of Torah. Of this, do not mind high things, but condescend to men. There are you that are arrogant, you're haughty, you lift yourself, because no one is going to instruct you or tell you anything. That's evil. I don't care if it's from your mama, your daddy, or you. Me, it's evil. He said, but condescend. If you think you're higher or greater than one, then condescend to the one that you're enterprising with, or having conversation with. He says to the men of low estate, if you got what it takes, it will be visible. It will be visible. Everyone will see it, your beauty. What they call beauty today, women getting their, the works done with certain, that's not beautiful. I don't care what a woman looks like in the biological sense. There's a life of the living ruach in her, that it presents a beautiful. I've seen women that are very beautiful. And looking at the physical features, they were the most attractive women. They were kind. They were very nice. It was beyond surreal. I'd rather have a wife like that if I didn't have the beautiful gem I had. I wouldn't have had one. They present the kindness of Yah's Torah. The one that thinks that she's fine, get out of here. There is no woman, let me say it like this, that thinks she's fine, that a man cannot capture. Get what he looks like. Period. He can. That's a fact. He made the man the head. Now that doesn't belittle to the woman. He gave her a beauty that like no other creature. She's a helpmeet. She's the one that caused him to enterprise. He becomes strong. That's what she does. Her beauty is beyond expression. It is a tifarah. It's a beauty that is beyond expressions. Condescend to men of low estate. And then he tells us this nation, Shaul says, don't be wise in your own conceited arrogance, your smugness. You can't tell when someone has smug or pride. I can. I can. There are things I don't say. I don't even deal with certain things, but nothing is going to get past me. My love for or daughter of Zion. There's nothing I haven't dealt with in all these years of preaching. I've dealt with every kind. I would dealt with those that love me this minute and despise me. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't make me entreat them any differently, period. I've always been like that. I have. It doesn't. Because I know when you do it righteously, Yah will give you favor with every kind, every man. That one may not return the favor, but this one will over here, and that one and those. And I've seen that upon us here. I've seen that over these 27 years, it will be this month. I've seen it. I've seen it when they spoke evil things about us, but when they meet me, we have conversation. Well, you ain't nothing like they say you is down there. We were talking with a man and brought us the barrels, and he was talking about the man he's buying this equipment from up here. I like him. I like that big white boy. He's all right with me. I like the white boy. And I fuss at him. I will repudiate his theses of religion. I like him. I said, when you get that stuff fixed, I want you to make sure you're going to take down all that timber down there. He's already let me know whenever you want it, you can do it, use it. Big Daddy can drive that. We can't divide from each other. We cannot stand. A house divided cannot stand. When your heart is not right in the principles of Yah, you will never make it. I don't care who you are. It's not by association with who. It's about having that mind, the same identical mind, the same identical mind. We must be one toward another. You can't be this way toward her and another way toward she or he. It must be the same. So the kindness you show her must be the same with you. Must be the same. Must be the same. Must be the same. Must be the same. It must be the same. Must be the same. Must be the same. He tells us not to be wise in our own folly, our conceit. Conceit is nothing but one that is arrogant, haughty, think there's something or someone. I am nothing. I know that for a fact. And I will not pretend that I'm someone. I've seen men that talk to men that are educated. When I worked around educated men, I let them know who I was, a high school dropout. How about that? They had the same thing. I had a job. They had the same thing. I had a job, a house payment. They had to get out. They had to come to work. They had car payments. They had insurance. They had the same thing. So they had nothing that I did not have. And I knew what they were going through. It was a burden for me. Certainly was a burden for them. I will not sell my life to this day for nothing. Because I'm at Shalom, there is no burden on me. None whatsoever. If there's not a dime that comes in, still no burden. And that's a fact. Look at what Shaul says to Corinthians here. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 10. Now I beg of you, I beseech you, YisraYah'ale. He was not talking to the mass of the world. He was talking to only one people that are scattered throughout every region of the world. The coloration of skin is from the creamiest of the cream of white to the blackest of blackest. He called them YisraYah'ale. He said, by the name, Hashem of our Master, YHWH HaMashiach, that you all speak the same thing. We must all be conversed in Torah. That we all speak the same thing. You cannot speak the same thing unless we have the same mind. We must be mindful of the same things, identical. We cannot speak the same things if we don't have the same mind. We must all speak the same thing, and there be no division among you. That nothing that separate us, nothing at all. It should not. It cannot be. But look what he says here. After the semicolon, he said, but that you be perfectly joined together. How? In the same mind. We can never be joined together unless we have the same mind and then above all the same judgment. I cannot judge her differently than I judge her. It must be the same. I cannot be a partaker of some kind of thing that is corrupt and evil with her, against you, against anyone. It must be the same judgment. The law must be the same. If it's 5 to 10 for her, it's 5 to 10 for her for the same penalty. We must have the same mind, and we must judge in the same fashion. Righteously, honorably. And we judge nothing before its time. We don't do that. It must be of the same mind and the same identical judgment. We will judge one that we think we love differently than we judge one. My mother would say, quote, I'm glad you're not like them. Well, Mama, I'm doing the same thing they're doing. I'm hanging tough. No difference than Jimmy Ferguson, Michael McGill, our cousin Jimmy Nichols. You're all doing the same thing. I'm glad you're not like them. I'm just like him. I like him. We hang tough and we hang tight. We do it together. And that's the way we think. It's evil. Well, that's my son. He's just like them. He hangs with them. Oh, that's my beautiful daughter. She's just like them. No different. It must be the same. The same way I judge you, I will judge her. Same way I judge her, I will judge her. You. And we have this preference. I have no preference. None whatsoever. We must all have the same judgment. It must be the same. And this is what Shaul, as he writes in Philippians here, to you, O DR, and soon to He. He writes to them. He said, I beseech you all, look what he says in Philippians 4:2, that they be of the same mind in the Master Yahshua HaMashiach. We must all have the same mind. We must be taught and trained. We are children. I don't want to be an adult. I want to be a child of Yah. I want to be a babe. That's what I want to be. You know, you don't know. That's silly for me to say that. But her uncle visited her on last Shabbat. He's 78 years old. He realized that life is at its closure. You can take what you want to. It's at its closure. You get to that age, you've been blessed. And I watched him as he looked at me, and he watched me because that was my first time seeing him in over 20 years. And I've known him over 50 years. I've known him because of her. And he was older than us at that time. So 15 and 21, that's a little different as far as socializing. And he sat, he watched, and we walked outside together. And there was one thing that was so noticeable to him. It wasn't the place, how it looked. He did say, this is it is beyond conception. I watched her. I knew she was going to give him a letter or something. They're going to do that. It was not just her. His words were this. We stood right there. He said, the children. These children. He said this. Ouch. He said, what? How marvelous, beautiful they are. Not some wild things and churches running all wild and crazy in their houses. Not something like that. He marveled at the children. And then he replied, this is one beautiful place, my friend. All he could do is look and say, it is. All that those that left has not deterred me and all. It's still beautiful. A lot of stuff needs to be done, but it's still beautiful. We must be of the same judgment. We must be of the same mind. And then he said, Kephas says this in 1 Peter 4:1. He says, for as much then as Yahshua HaMashiach has suffered for us in his bazah, in his flesh, look what he tells us. We must arm yourself likewise with the same mind. You must arm yourself. Like we were in the military, we had to arm ourselves. We didn't have guns, we had weapons. You did not say that in the military. Get my gun. That's the first thing they broke you. You have your weapon. You use it. You got to love it. Keep it clean. Watch it. Make sure it's right every evening after you use it. We must be armed. And when you're armed, it shows one thing, that we are the Geberah. We are the Geba, the warriors of Almighty Yah. And we arm ourselves by Charuach, His truth. We must be taught. I don't ever want to be where I can't be taught. I'm discussing that with Ima. I can't wait to Shabbat because I'm looking for that course of the meal that we're going to get. We must likewise, we must arm. And when someone picks up arms, it's to battle. I will not allow my arm to be wrenched from my hands, from my mind, by no one. I don't care what that one says or how that one thinks. You will not take my weapons of this warfare. We must arm ourselves likewise with the same mind, for he that suffered in the flesh, he has ceased from sin. You're going to suffer, and you will cease from your ways that are corrupt, that are evil. You will cease. We that have suffered in the flesh, there's a ceasing. When you see the pains of one, or you experience that pain, you didn't care about that one experiencing that, but when you experienced that, it was different. You didn't care about that one. Oh, you pretended you cared about this one. Listen, when you don't care about one, you care about no one. I don't care who it is. Period. I know we think that. I will show us in this teaching. All right, can I do that? I will. You don't care for one. You don't even have love, because I'm going to prove that right now. That's why I say love is not what we think it is. You see how he administered that action of love? He directs our course, doesn't he? And he tells us what to do. I want to go back to Matthew 22, 28. 38, I do apologize. He tells us this in Matthew 22, 38. He said, this is the first. You know it's the first because I just read it in Devarim. He said, this is the first. This is the first. It is the protos. It is the chief. Love is the chief thing. It's the most vital thing of Yah. He said, this is the first, the proto. Its influence, its power. That's just like one having the firstborn. The firstborn always takes a place. It is always the one that guides the younger ones. It's nothing like the firstborn child. Period. There is nothing like the firstborn. And we are the firstborn of Hamashiach. He says this is the first, and he calls it not the gadol here, but in Greek the megas. It is the most powerful, influential. It is very effective. It has all the mechanics of all the spiritual power. It's powerful. He said this is the great commandment in Torah. It is the first. What is the commandment? Just in Torah, just like Zevah, it is the concept of Yah's principle. And the whole thing is about one principle. That is to love, to care, to show that. In my days, you would hear folks say, she is so loving. Them some lovable little children. You never heard that? Well, I have. And then the ones that were bad said, look at them old bad boys. Look at them gals. That's just a fact of the matter. Then he says, you see what the first one is, to love God. That's great. He said, and the second one is like homo us, the same, identical. So you can't tell me you love Yah, and the way you treat me is totally different. You're a liar. Because loving Yah is the same as loving the body. No different. So you can't tell me, I don't love God. I know you don't even love your God because you are the God. It is the same. It is identical, same, identical. It is the same. It is the same. The second one is homoios, like. It corresponds in everything with loving Yah. It's identical. And the way you talk to that one, you talk to Yah that way. The way you entreat that one, you entreat Yah that way. The way you show your boastfulness, that's the way you do it with Yah. Period. The way you show your attitude with Yah, you show with me, that's the same attitude you have with Yah. So you can talk that cheesy mess, but I'm a student of this book. I'm a student. I'm not a scholar. I'm a student with great passion of scholarship, because every word is pure and it's important. Every word is vital. So the way I treat you, I treat Yah that way. The way I sass with you, I treat Yah that way. You love him, that's the greatest. And then this one is as great as that one. I show you one that is the same of the same likings. No different. That's why I tell us all the time, we have not learned love. We learn a concept from mom and daddy in the gathering and fat back eating and chitlin strutting that we called it love. It wasn't that. It's not the love of Yah. And we learn a fraudulent concept of love. My, those that oppress and didn't even love you. They didn't love your great-grandmammy. And our love is the same as resembling our oppressors. That's why we quarrel with each other, we treat each other wrong, we do each other wrong. You would rebel and fight against one of the house, and yet you will pretend you're so kind with strangers. That's hypocrisy to the tilt. That's hypocrisy. He shows us one as equal. This is equal with that. No difference. This is equal with that. It's the same. It's out of his mouth. Out of his mouth. And the second is lack. Identical features, identical, homoeous. They resemble, they speak the same thing to it. It is like of the same fashion. You shall love your plesion, your neighbor. And that means what? That neighbor, plesion. Anyone that is of the Hebraic family, anyone that is seeking Yah, may not know how to traverse the road, you should love them. These are my kinsmen. That's who you love, your neighbor, not some stranger you don't even know, but you still do right by that stranger. You don't do him wrong. If he's hungry, give him bread. If he rails against you, then he heaps coal upon him. We don't have the idea and the concept of love. We got this formality we call love. It's not even that. It doesn't even represent the tentacles and the beauty of love. Love is a beautiful thing. It is very expressive. When you love someone, it's an expression. You can't verbalize. It's just only action. That's what love is. It's the actions. It's like a mother looking at the baby at night, smiling. The child sees nothing. Smiling and grinning and loving the little baby. And the kiss is so gentle because she doesn't want to awaken the child. Daddy comes home. He looks at his beautiful little baby. Maybe take his big nose like mine and rub it on her. He's very gentle with his big nose. He doesn't want to awake the child, and he just looks. His heart is overwhelmed. Now, I will never experience that, but I experienced that. I love Yah's children. I love them. I love them. I don't have any of my own biological own, but I love the little ones of YisraYah'ale. And when you love someone, everyone will see you love them. Everyone will know. Not try to manage them and run them. Show love and care and kindness. That's what you do. Well, you show that, everyone will see it. I don't care who you are. Everyone will see that kind of affection, of emotion. Everyone will. Everyone. Everyone. You will not escape the visual of anyone. No one at all. Period. Period. We must arm ourselves with the same mind. For he that has suffered in the flesh, we have ceased from sin. We have suffered. You have gone through much and many things. I've gone through nothing in my life but by the repaying of my own sins. Come on, nation. But there is one thing that when you realize what sin does to me, then it makes you appreciate Yah. And then you can appreciate those that show you the warmth of heartfelt kindness and comforts. And you can speak to them in the midst of all your great agonies of pains and trials. It is just that warmth you feel. It is something you feel. You feel that thing because it's so real. It's medicine. It is medicine. Just like the warmth of the heat, it is medicine to a man's ruach. It goes beyond the surface. Goes down to the depths of his being. He feels that. It moves him. It gets him up. That's what it does. We don't know what love is. We got a delusion of what we call love. It's got to be according to this book, and no other book at all. We must, nation. This is the first principle, the commandments. In verse 40, let me move quickly. He tells us this in the same chapter, on verse 40. On these two, these do all. On these two, listen. That's why we don't understand Torah. On these two commandments, he says, Kiraman, hangs everything that the prophets, the Nobiim of Torah, on these two hang all the Torah and the prophets. That's what the whole book is based upon. Loving Yah with everything, and loving YisraYah'ale with the same effort you love Yah. You love Yah, you're going to be kind and faithful, aren't you? You love your neighbor as yourself, you're going to do the same thing. Your kindness is going to be equal to your kindness that Yah permits to ferment in you. And that's why I say we don't know what love is. I didn't learn what love was in my home. I didn't have anyone to teach me. I had no one to show me. But as a young boy, I would cry because I wanted to be loved. I knew my mother loved me, but my mother didn't know how to love. And I would cry, and I wanted that. I wanted a family, sons and daughters, that I could love them. So he gave me those that are YisraYah'ale. I can love them. They are my sons and daughters. I just love them. We're one family. So I can do that, nation, and I have no qualms with that. Quickly in this process, I will ask us all this question: how do we, us, how do we qualify this heartfelt passion that it is pronounced upon us? In this heart of kindness, how do we procure that? How is it, and that you know that? I want to read this is what Dawid says in Tehillim 19:7. You can't get any other way but this way. And that's why the enemy keeps our minds off this Torah. We don't have time for Yah's word. Let us just be honest. I don't want you to say it to me, but let us be honest with ourselves and put forth the effort, the time, He says this, that he says, the Torah is tomim. It is more than sound, it is wholesome. It has everything that you need in life. It is innocent. There is no sin. You can lay no charge to the Torah of its integrity and how sincere this book was given to man by the penmanship of the heart of Yah through man. It is so perfect, converting the nefesh. The testimony of Yah is true, is sure, his edut. Look in the heavens, you will see it. Look in the scope, beyond the scope of your eyes, you will see it. The testimony of Yah is sure, making wise the petty. It makes wise us that are foolish and immature. Not everyone is mature. Not every man is mature. Not every woman is mature. It makes us wise. Only the Torah. You don't get wise without investigating this book. You can talk, but what that is wise, there are actions, and you see the magnitude of the actions of what that one of those implements. You will see that. It makes wise the petty, those that are foolish, immature. There's nothing, I love you daughters, you that may listen to this, there's nothing like a foolish, immature woman. I've always despised a woman like that. I've never talked with them. I didn't want to be around them. And I know one. I've never liked being around a woman like that. Never. A simple person like that. I have never been around people like that. I'm just being honest. And he tells us that his testimony, but this is it, his chuk. The statutes of Yah are upright. When you walk in line with the precepts of Yah, you will walk upright. And when you walk upright, everyone will see it. They will know you're Yahshua. They're upright, not false and phony and fake. No pretense. They are upright. You'll know they're upright because the Torah says they will shamach, rejoicing. It makes the heart dance and sing with great jubilation. Upright. What it does, makes you happy, makes you glad, makes you dance when nobody's around and when everybody's around. Get you excited about Yah. That's a fact. That's a fact. Rejoicing, it makes you glad, you rejoice, you happy, and it is done in a way that is arrogant. Okay, what no one says. Okay, how they look at you. You need to do what I'm doing. You know, that's what they would do in the world when I was in the world. Those that were out there on the dance floor, as they would say, and one trying to sit back all, what is the term? All dignified, they get them out. You getting out here to dance. You're going to do it like me. And those that were just wild, they could dance. They could dance. Don't be hypocrites. There's not one of us that haven't tried to dance. We're so immature and arrogant, we don't think, you know. That was a song, I said to my email, when did they come back? Sunday night? I was here. And I went back to the days I was thinking, and there was a song in my days. It was in the 70s. The man's name was Bill Withers. That's real old school there. And he talks about a helping hand, a friend. So I went online to find the words. I said, yeah, the people listen to that. When we will listen to songs like that, we didn't dance or nothing. That gave us the ability, we would sit down in our social circles and we would rap. And I always prepared myself because there were some monsters, and I was coming with that monster approach. You're not going to know more than I know. And we will sit down and we will rap and talk. The last poets, the battles of people like us. We will listen to the Huey P's, the Ralph Abernathy's, the Stokely Carmichaels. We listen to men like that. The Malcolms. I said in my email, say, when I was in Europe, there was a station in Luxembourg, Germany. And I said, Emma, I will stay up. I get in when I'm in. And I will listen to that station hour upon hour, because you must understand, back then we didn't have what we got now. And some of the most intellectual giants and scholars, I didn't go to sleep. When I was sleepy, I would listen and learn. The Edgar Cleavers and all of those men. Pounders! And that song by Beer Withers, it speaks of a kindness of heartfelt, of love, assurance. I'm talking about no hoochie core dancing. It spoke to the conscience of man. Those men, when they were singing, it was to the conscience of man and his plight. And we would sit around in circles just listening. This trash what they call rap, and there was a group called the Last Poets. And they spill it out concerning the people of my hue. If you listen, I don't listen to them. But back then, the songs of Curtis Mayfield and all those men, it was always to the conscience. We the people that are blacker than blue, talks about high yellow gale. You just a substance that has risen from the very blackness of the people. That's what it was. And we were raised on those kinds of. James Brown said, loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Get out of here. Don't be silly. Now, I don't sit around listening to James Brown, any of that. But I was there coming from the greenhouse, and I was just thinking about that song. You need a helping hand. Come on, brother. How did it go? You may just have a problem that you don't understand. We all need someone to lean on me when you can't go through those. But those are the songs that we listen to. And they were powerful, pulsating songs that grabbed our conscience and our mind. We didn't want to shame people that look like us. We were taught that don't shame us. And we did all we could not to make us look stupid. I'm glad I was born in the years I was born. It was a difference between, it's proven that society every 4 years there's a massive change. Every 4 to 5 years, there are things that cause the whole concept of people to change. But those 60s, those young years, that was the experience in life. That is what's primed me. 70s were different. My sister's oldest child was born in the 70s. He is so far from the way I think. From the 70s to the 80s, is such an immaturity that is just, you can't even measure. Those that were born in my days, the 60s was a paramount for people of our hue. And you can see the maturity level doesn't go up, it just drops down. There's no reasoning, no sense of wisdom. This is a fact, I don't care if you don't like me. Period. I want to, let me read, I want to stop here. I said, oh my, I said, okay. I want to finish this, though. This is a very beautiful teaching. This is what qualifies us here. It is the Torah of Yah. He says in verse 7, the Torah is perfect. Verse 8, he said, the statutes of Yah, they're upright, they rejoice the heart. And the commandments of Yah are pure, enlightening the ayin. You can see things. Let me close from Shemoth. Shemoth 34:5. I want to show us the beauty of a heart of kindness, of this heartfelt kindness and comforting. I want to show you this mind that we must have that appeals to Yah as he did with Moshe. Exodus, Shemoth 34:5. Yah descended in a cloud, and he stood with Moshe there. And that's when he proclaimed his name unto Yahshua. Moshe, his Hashem. He proclaimed his name. And Yah passed by before Moshe, and he called out, he called out, Yah, my mighty Yah, he called her, the Almighty One. Then he expressed whom Yah is. He is Rachum, compassionate. Rachum, the words that are specifically describe Yah. Rachum, it implies there is a warm heartness that is heartfelt, and it only applies to Yah. This Rachum, Rachum. It is a heart that is tender. It is a heart that cares. But this is how Moshe identified him. He identified him. Your name speaks of your Rachum, your compassion, your care, your warmness, your warmth, your heart felt for us. He called him compassion. And then he called him Hanun. It says gracious there, doesn't it, if you're there? But that is Hanun. This is what Hanun is. Hanun. It is friendly, showing affection, showing a tolerance with YisraYah'ale. This is what Yah is. And I'm glad he's that with me, because if it had not been for him on my side, that's how it is. And these are the traits of us. Not only that he's long-suffering, he suffered longs with me. And the long-suffering has its end. And then it tells us this, he's abundant, Rab, in what? In kindness. He's abundant in chassid. We must have the abundance of kindness. There are us, we that get upset over the drop of a nothing, drop of salt. Full of chassid. Chassid is a love, kindness of comfort. It is the warmth of a heart. But out of all of that, it is one thing about chassid, what it expresses, it is steadfast. It continues. It's not up and down. It's consistent in his action. He's full of kindness and emet. He's full of truth. He's firm. He's faithful. He's genuine. Full of truth. And then he says here in verse 7, keeping, Shema, guarding us, keeping chassid for thousands, forgiven. He's the one that nasa, forgiven. He lifts us up even when we fall. He supports us. That's his comfort. Even when we fail in every aspect of life, forgiving my own ovin, my iniquity and transgression, and my chatat. This is what he says, nation. And that will by no means clear the guilty. Don't think you can keep getting by with the same lies and the same corruption. visiting the iniquity of the father upon the children, upon the children's children, to the third and the fourth generation. This is the curse that you bring upon your own house. You tell your sons, your daughters, your grandyoungers, you tell them the truth. You don't skin and grin. You train and teach them. Why? Because he will visit that, what they say, generational curse upon the third and the fourth generation. I don't care how educated they are. It means nothing. And Moshe made haste, and he bowed his head toward the earth. And that's when he began to cry out, "Oh Yahweh, there is none greater than you." And he said to Yah, and he said, "If now I have found favor, your special attention, your kindness, if I've found that in your sight, O Yah, my Abba, let my sovereign master, I pray you, go among us." Why? See, this is the catalyst here. We never identifies me. We identify everyone but me. He says this, "For it is a stiff shalach." We are a stiff neck, a self-will. We are brutal, brutes. We're full of our own perverseness. He said, "For it is a stiff-necked people." This is Moshe saying this people is wicked. It is a stiff-necked people. "And pardon our iniquity and our sin, and take us for your inheritance." We must identify our traits. I'm corrupt, I'm cold, and I'm nasty. One that is arrogant, juvenile, and insecure, they will never. But that man of Yah said, we are a stiff-necked people. We're stubborn, we're wicked. And that's what we is be, nation. That's what we is be. And so that's why there is not much heartfelt. We don't, like we take a little child, we lay them on our chests. And there's nothing like that to me. May the riches of Yah shower you with understanding and knowledge. We keep ourselves firm in his emunah, in his passion, his desire. And then we love everyone like we love me. You love everyone like you love me. I'm not talking about me. You the me. This is me. So I love everyone like I love me. I'm not going to lie to me. I'm not going to cheat me. I'm not going to steal from me. And if I don't steal from me, I'm not going to steal from you. If I don't lie to me, I'm not going to lie to you. I rebuke me more than any man. There's not one of you to rebuke you yourself like I rebuke me. You don't even call yourself the name that call me. I know that's for a fact. I know you don't. You don't even talk to you the way I talk to me. And I will not even talk to you the way I talk to me. Because I talk to me all the time. But I tell me what corrupt, evil, sadistic beast I am. And there's always within the context of Yah, let not these things be in me, purge me. And so that's how I address me. We as a people, we tend to address me, you, as someone special. Well, you're not special outside of the Torah commands of Almighty Yah. Yah Baruch Nation, do send your tithes and gifts of offerings to support this work. We will use them. You come for a visit. We certainly have very scrumptious food and things like that you can eat. Join us here for a wonderful meal. We need your help. Do send your gifts, your tithes. Tithes have not been done away with. And that's just a lie. I know these corrupt men, and even those that teach what they call the Hebrew concept. You wonder where's the money going. I heard one say, it ain't your business what I do with the money. What is your business what I do with it here? I use it for here and nothing else. I don't take no vacations. I don't need a vacation. I have a vacation every Shabbat. There's nothing in the world that impresses me. Nothing. Nothing. Because you're not going to remember that on that day of judgment. Nothing. So I don't need to see whole water, anything. I'm content and satisfied with everything that Yah has done, that he caused my mind to adhere with great passion to what he commands us. That's all I'm living for. I'm not living for Cadillac. I'm living to see him. Ya Baruch, let us stand to our feet and turn toward YisraYah'ale. We're in the captivity of the bondage of our minds, a system that robs us, our children, and all. We pray for the nation of your elect, Yah, that you guide us and heal us all. We need your healing power. Make us free from the bondage of this land and your people scattered and throughout the earth, throughout every part of the earth. Heal us all here in Yeshua's name and give us guidance in everything we do according to your will. Above all, teach us how to love you and how to love one another. This is our cry this night from a heart that is warm and that is heartfelt, full of compassion and comforting. In Yeshua's name we do declare it. Hallelujah. 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 Ya Baruch nation. Ya Baruch.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Now I praise you, Yah, you're the rock of my salvation. You I praise from shore to shore in all your creation. Let it ring from mountain tops. Let my voice proclaim the tender mercies of Yahweh, Yeshua. Come on, Yeshua is Messiah. Messiah of Israel is he, restorer of our nation. The hope of David now we see, bringing us salvation. Root of Jesse, Lion of Judah, Judge of Israel. Now we praise you for your joy, a harbor that never. Come on, let's give Yahweh the praise. Hallelujah, Yahweh. Torah you, Yah. You are worthy, Yah. Blessed be your name, O Yah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, way. Torah you, hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, how I praise you, Yah. You're the rock of my salvation. You I praise. Yahshua is his name. Messiah of Israel is he, restorer of our nation, the hope of David. Now is he, bringing us salvation. Root of Jesse, Lion of Judah, Judge of Israel. Now we praise you for your truth, our harbor that never fails.
Come on, let's praise Yahweh for the joy he has given us. In Yahshua HaMashiach. Yahshua said, if you believe on me, as the scriptures have said, out of your belly shall flow rivers of living water. Hallelujah. Come on, how I praise you, Yahshua. You're the rock of my salvation.
How I praise you, Yah. You're the rock of my salvation. You I praise from shore to shore in all your creation. Let it ring from mountains high. Hallelujah. Let my voice proclaim the tender mercies of Yahweh.
Yahshua. Come on, Yahshua is the tender mercies of Yah shown to us.
Messiah of Israel is he, restorer of our nation, the hope of David. Hallelujah. Now we see. Oh, we hope in you, Yahweh. Bringing us salvation. Root of Jesse, Lion of Judah, Judge of Israel. Now we praise you for your joy.
Come on, let's make a joyful noise to Yahweh, all you lands. Serve him with gladness. Hallelujah. Blessed be your name, Yah.
Hallelujah.
We shall hide you.
Hallelujah.
We barak you, Yah.
Worthy, Yah.
Hallelujah.
You are worthy, Yahweh. Hallelujah.
Come on, one more time. How about praise you, Yah?
How I praise you, Yah. You're the rock of my salvation. You I praise from shore to shore in all your YisraYah'ale. Scattered abroad, every nation. Hallelujah. The mountains high. Oh yeah. Let my voice proclaim the tender mercies of Yahweh. Yahshua is his name. Lion of Israel